next guest is the man who makes wildlife documentaries sing, and he spent his life surrounded by some of the most dangerous animals in the world. Take a look.
From black-headed pythons to croc-infested waters, Dr. Jim Frazier has been there to capture it all. A pioneering cinematographer, for many years he was Sir David Attenborough's right-hand man, even taking out an Oscar and an Emmy for his work.
Isn't that amazing? Tonight is the premiere of David Attenborough's latest and most fascinating series, The Hunt, and Dr. Jim Frazier joins us now. Jim, good to see you. You're a highly respected cinematographer, but your special sixth sense, you call it, is for working with animals. So tell us about that, your passion for that.
Yeah, I've actually had it since childhood, and it's one of those difficult things to explain, but it's a sort of knowing with animals, and I was able to film stuff that no other cameraman could film, mainly because I could sense and predict what the animal's going to do under a given set of circumstances.
Wow.
And that reflected itself in my my film work, and the BBC noticed that I'd consumed the least film of all other cameramen because I had that power of prediction and knowing when to turn the camera on.
Wow.
And that ability to just hold off and wait.
Yes. Whereas other cameramen, I know one guy who used to put magazine after magazine after magazine in, and he would get nothing just waiting for the thing to happen, you know? And I got to say, that shot you're using in the promo of the big cat leaping up at the birds.
Yeah, there it is.
There it is.
OK, well, that, to me, is $1 million shot.
Oh, look at that.
For a wildlife cameraman, that is like winning the lottery. To have the camera running when something like that happens, which you cannot predict.
But to be poised in exactly the right spot and to be in focus.
At the right time. That's why I'm saying it's like winning the lottery. For that cameraman, that's $1 million shot.
How long had you been sitting before that?
Who knows? I mean, yeah, who knows?
Now, so David Attenborough is obviously a huge fan of yours. Look at this.
There was a time when people who made natural history films used to think that if you wanted real drama, you'd have to go to Africa. And then along came Jim Frazier because he had extraordinary ingenuity in inventing lenses that made shots like this one possible. And the world of natural history films has never been quite the same since.
Single-handedly changed the face of wildlife documentaries with this special lens, and you won the Oscar for it.
Yes, well, what really happened after that was that the lens came to the attention of Panavision in the US, and they couldn't believe what it was doing. And so they approached me, and the long story short was that they built this big lens of my design to do things that no other lens had ever done. And Steven Spielberg and James Cameron ended up using it, and Spielberg said, "Oh, I've never gone on a set without this lens, it's extraordinary." And it was all because you could swivel the image, you could do things in the lens that you couldn't do with any other lens. You could get it right down on the ground without having to dig a hole in the ground. You could put it around corners and shoot overhead, all by twiddling the front of it.
Amazing.
And it had an image rotator in it, so a director could walk up and say, "That's the Dutch I want there," you know? And he did it himself, so they didn't have to slant the camera. And so, at the same time, it put everything in focus. And that allowed them to do a whole lot of special effects shots that could never be done before either, like the ones I was doing.
Absolutely.
Incredible stuff.
Obviously, it's not just about animals, is it? You worked on the living planet and spent weeks in the Sumatran jungles, where your hardest job, I understand, was filming a flower. Tell us about that.
Jeff Flower
Who
instincts
would have
as well.
thought?
Well, it's one of the biggest flowers in the world. It's called Frazier.
Right.
Look at that.
Yeah, that's it. And it takes 3 or 4 days to open. And they wanted time-lapse, and so you'll see there I set up 2 cameras on that, and this is right up in the jungle, no electricity, nothing. So you have to figure out how the hell you are going to film something like that. And so because it takes that time to open, you have to really think before you go that all your equipment's going to work on battery power, and I had to enclose it in a big black tent so that the daylight and nighttime didn't
affect it at all.
Didn't affect it, and so you ended up with this nice flower opening.
Well, you're an incredible Aussie, and we are very, very humbled that you came and joined us today. It's The Hunt kicks off tonight. You've got to watch it. All the kids are going to watch it too. Our kids are recording it. Tune in tonight, 7:30 to watch the David Attenborough's acclaimed series. Jim, what a thrill to meet you.
And you.